here. Thank you very much for joining me again for another Armchair Pundit segment. It's that time of year again. It's Six Nations. This is going to prove to be one of the best Six Nations in recent history, I believe. There are a lot of teams on form. A lot of teams played very well against the big guns from the Southern Hemisphere. I think it's going to be a cracker. Also, guys, obviously, these Northern Hemisphere players, England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, they're playing with that Lions jersey. So I think we're going to see some cracking rugby in the next couple of weeks. It's kicking off this weekend coming. We've got some very, very good games coming up. We've got Scotland at home against Ireland. We've got England playing at home at Twickenham against France. And we've got Italy hosting Wales. So I'm going to look through each team's fairly recent form in the autumn internationals, try and predict the scores of the game, see how we go. I think it's going to be very difficult, but I'll give it a go. So guys, starting off, we've got Scotland hosting Ireland. Murrayfield's always a tricky place to go. Teams have found it difficult in the past. Australia have really struggled there the last couple of years. England struggled to play up there too, particularly if it starts raining. How will Ireland do? Well, who knows? So recently, in autumn internationals, Scotland, they've had some very close games against maybe the bigger teams. So they lost by a point to Australia again. They may feel like they should have won. They lost 22-23. They then played Argentina. They won 19-16. And then they rounded it off with a thumping win against Georgia, 43-16. The thing with these close run games that Scotland play at the moment is they generally lose them. They put themselves in good positions to win, or they compete and then they end up losing. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't think it's fitness. All the guys are professionals. They all play for excellent clubs. I don't think it's a fitness thing. Is it a concentration thing? I'm not sure. But they need to cut that out if they're going to get these wins in the Six Nations and also going forwards as well. This Ireland team that they're playing, they are not going to let up. They're going to play to the full 80. So Scotland are going to have to be on their game the whole time. Ireland, as we well know, they beat New Zealand in Chicago 40-29. That's a fantastic win. I didn't give them a chance. I don't think many people did, but they pulled it out. They actually played them twice. They played them again in Dublin. They lost 21-9 that time. Maybe a bit of a crash to reality. New Zealand also knew what was going to come at them as well. I think Ireland maybe ambushed them a little bit in Chicago. Maybe the All Blacks treated that as a bit of a trip away. I'm not exactly sure, but they soon brought it back to rights in Dublin. In between those two New Zealand games, they played Canada. They completely changed their side. They smacked them 51-21. There wasn't even a contest really, but it's good that Ireland are playing these teams. It's good for Canada to be playing these top tier nations. I love it. I think it's brilliant for rugby. Ireland finished off their autumn internationals with a 27-24 win against Australia, which is a very, very good win for them. I think they'll be very pleased with that. Australia will be disappointed, but I think that's a sort of tale of their tour and of their year as a whole. Didn't quite get there. The result of this game, I think it'll be close. I think Ireland have got too much for Scotland. Scotland are playing very, very well, and they've got some very, very good players. Finn Russell's playing out of his skin. Ireland, depending on who they've got fit, depending on who they've got playing, if Johnny Sexton's there and thereabouts and he starts firing, I think the Irish backline will have too much for Scotland. I think the packs will be fairly even, but I think in the backline, Ireland are going to win this. It'll be close. I think it'll be within maybe 10 points. Let's have a look. Maybe let's go 20-10 Ireland. Moving on to England-France. I think this is probably the game of the weekend for me personally anyway, just for the sort of size of teams that are playing and the form that they might be in. Let's start off with France. They seem to become a lot more consistent, but at the same time a lot more boring to watch, which is a real shame because you just want to see the France of the 1990s just throw it around, run from their own half. That's what you want to see. We're not really getting a lot of that, but at the same time the results are probably becoming a little bit more consistent. They've become a lot more competitive in these bigger games. They started off with playing Samoa. They won 52-8. Again, I think that was the sort of game that they were going to expect to win anyway, not really in sort of any doubt at all. They then played Australia, it was 23-25. Again, I think it's sort of game that can go either way, really, and I think Australia did well to hold on to that one, to win that one. Then had a close run game against New Zealand, 24-19. New Zealand played extremely well in that game, scored some very good tries, exciting tries. I think France will be disappointed to lose twice at home. I don't think they'll be too upset with the New Zealand game. The Australia game, I think the way that Australia played, they would hope to have beaten them. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case. England, well, we all know about England. They're on a fantastic run of form at the moment. They beat South Africa 37-21, but then again, who didn't beat South Africa? So I guess that doesn't really count to much. They beat Fiji 58-15. The less I said about that, the better, I think, at the moment. I made my thoughts pretty clear on how second-tier nations have been treated in World Rugby. I'm going to make a bit more of an in-depth video on that. They beat Argentina 27-14. Argentina, I think, will be disappointed with their touring, but they didn't play particularly well. I'm not sure about Argentina. Hopefully, come the Rugby Championship 2017, they'll really pull it out. And then they rounded off with a win against Australia, 37-21. I think Australia in the second half of that game were probably already back at home on the beach. Predicting this game, France-England at Twickenham. If it was in Paris, I'd give France the win. I think it'd be like that. If it was in Paris, I would give France a win on this one. If England rest on their laurels too much, France will shock them. I don't think Eddie Jones is going to let that happen. I think Eddie Jones is going to keep these guys in straight and narrow. The fact that it's at Twickenham, I think England will win, maybe 7-12 points. I think it'll be fairly high scoring affair. It normally is. Normally a few points in it. I don't know, let's have a look, maybe 30 points to 20, 30, that sort of game. I think it'll be topsy-turvy, back and forth, but I think England will win. Guys, last game of the weekend, we've got Italy playing Wales. Now, looking back, 9 times out of 10, I'd say Wales. Judging from their recent performances, I'm not so sure. Let's have a look at how Wales got on. They lost Australia 32-8. That was Australia's best performance of their tour. It was also Wales's first game. Australia just hammered them. They just beat them. And I think maybe delve into that fear of the Southern Hemisphere teams that Wales have got, I think. They then beat Argentina in a bit of scrappy affair, 24-20. Again, Argentina, as I said before, be disappointed that one of these teams sort of hang in there. They beat Japan 33-30. Japan are an improving side. They're a good side, but they're not that good. They shouldn't be. Wales shouldn't be just squeaking past them at home by 3 points. They're better. Wales are better than that. I don't think Japan are up to that level. They obviously pushed them. Yeah, it's sort of banana skin kind of game, but Wales will be disappointed with that. And then in the end, they beat South Africa 27-13. That was a given. By that time, South Africa just packed their bags and on the first flight home. Italy, on the other hand, very, very, very mixed autumn. They've got a new coach, Conor O'Shea, used to coach Harlequins, very, very good coach. He's going to get the best out of the players that he's got. Unfortunately, he hasn't got enough good players, which I feel for him. Let's have a look at the results. They played New Zealand, lost 68-10. Bearing in mind, this is the first game that New Zealand played after they lost to Ireland, so of course they were going to be on it. They were going to look at smashing whoever they played. Fortunately, it was Italy. Then they played South Africa, won 20-18. I think it's probably the best result, bar one of the France victories that Italy have ever had. And I know we were going to say, well, South Africa were poor and they had a rubbish tour, but you still got to play well to beat them. They've still got good players. I'm not sure if it's the systems that they use or what it is, but you still got to play well to beat them. And that was probably one of the best victories they'd had in their history. So, yeah, fair play. And then they followed up with a 19-17 loss to Tonga. And Tonga are probably the weakest of the Pacific Island nations at the moment. They will be annoyed at that. Now, whether or not the South Africa win just took so much out of them physically and mentally that they just couldn't lift themselves up for Tonga, maybe. But international rugby, any rugby, you've got to play the next week. You can't just win one game, say against a really good team, a higher ranked team, and then just think you've done it and not turn up the next. Italy need to start, if they're going to get a win, they need to start getting consistent wins. They need to bounce from one to the next. We've seen that in the Six Nations where they've beaten maybe France one week and then lost the next, and it's not really good enough for international rugby or any rugby really. So they need to get more consistent. The prediction for this game, Wales, I think, are going to win. I don't think it'll be by a lot. I think 15 points. It sounds like a lot, but it's not going to be a lot. I think it's going to be a goal-kicking affair. I think it will be penalties all round. But let's just say probably around about 25-10, 25-12 to Wales, somewhere kind of along that region. I don't think it's going to be a game for the ages. I hope I'm proven wrong. Anyway, guys, I'd love to see your score predictions, what you think it will be. Any players you think is going to stand out in the competition this year? Who do you think is going to win it overall? I'd love to see your thoughts, guys. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. I hate to see them, but fair enough. And subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks very much.